Hi, I want to welcome you to our webinar today. We're going to be talking about project management and using the Asana project management system. So hopefully you'll get something out of the webinar that will improve your work life and maybe even your personal life a little bit. I just want to introduce myself quickly. I'm Sherry Anderson. I'm the marketing manager for the College of Agriculture and Applied Sciences here at Utah State University. So I am going to go ahead and just dive right into this and share my screen with you. So just a couple things. Rather than using, if you have questions throughout this webinar, I'd like you to feel free to ask them. Just if you'll use the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen rather than chatting, that would be great. So the first thing as I thought about this, as I was preparing this webinar, I thought, well, why would we need to use a project management system? And then that led me to, like, normally I would do just a little bit of PowerPoint, some photos, and really show you some exciting things. So hopefully I can make it interesting enough that you want to stay here. But I really felt that just using the project management system through this whole presentation would give you all a better idea of how it works and be comfortable with it enough to just jump into it on your own. So I always ask why. I think that's just part of the marketing in me that I have been taught to do, to ask why do we do something. So why would you need to use a project management system? And there's several reasons for that. Team collaboration is one of them. It's important, I think, not only for your team to know what you're doing, but also you to know what they're doing, and you have ideas, and it gives you a place to do that. So as I'm going through this presentation, I actually have it all outlined here in Asana, and then we'll dive into how do you do things. I'm going to mark that off, that we talked about team collaboration. And you'll see right there we get a flying, I'm not sure which one that was. Sometimes it's unicorns, different things. And that really is one of the reasons I like the system, is it's fun. It makes me happy. Another reason for using a project management system is to be a better supervisor. You'll see here I've added a comment, so I'm going to go down and read my comment. It helps me to keep track of the work my employees are doing and if they're meeting their deadlines. And a project management system really helps you to define expectations with your employees, as well as for yourself. What are your expectations that you have for yourself with certain tasks and goals? So I'm going to mark that one off too, that we talked about being a better supervisor. Obviously, using a project management system, it helps you stay organized. So just keeping everything in one place is helpful. And there's a flying narwhal. Was that a narwhal? I'm not sure. They have these wonderful little creatures. Reducing email. I don't know anybody that doesn't have like an overload of email, and we're constantly, going through that. With that said, using Asana, you may need to create in your Outlook a folder specific for Asana, because it will send you updates as projects are completed or as your team members are working on things. So that is one thing. Once you put that all in a folder, hopefully you know how to do that. If not, you can just ask Google how do I create a rule in a folder in my Outlook, so you can reduce your email that way. The other thing, instant gratification, which we just saw. I've used several different project management systems. I like this one simply because it's easy to use, it's simple, and I do like that instant gratification. I love the flying unicorns. We have several people on our team that just really like the flying unicorns. It makes them happy. It makes our meetings a little bit more fun. And then, of course, we increase our productivity. So I've talked about all those subtasks. I'm now going to mark off that task. And we'll talk a little bit more about tasks here in a minute. So is Asana really the best system for you? You might be thinking, I have a system, I like the system I use, and that's great. I really, if you get nothing out of this other than use the system that is right for you, and to get organized, I will feel like I was successful in teaching you something. And if you are doing it and you feel like things are working, then I want to just give you a big pat on the back and say, go you, and keep it up. I know Trello is a popular system that many of our coworkers like to use. And depending on the type of, the nature of your work, the nature of your projects, you may, maybe Trello is a better fit for you, or maybe Kanban, or, there's something different. It was pointed out to me that Microsoft Teams now, it's a newer system. When I looked that up, it was created, I believe, in 2017. So I had not heard of it. I have not personally used it yet, but it sounds like it's a great option. It combines our chat, Slack, Box. So those of you that work at the university, which I think is most of you, Google Drive, all the Microsoft integration with simultaneous user edits on any platform. And I think this is a big thing, is it's HIPAA compliant. So our team, with certain projects, we don't, we're working on the creative side, so we're not concerned about that because we don't have that type of information. And I would never put that out there. We use that somewhere else. So that's something to be aware of. We've been using Asana since 2015, and we stuck with it for the following reasons. We talked about a few of these. And number one, it works for us. It works for me. So you need to do what works for you. This system may not be the best, but if you're not using any system at all, I would say jump into it and at least start. And then if you're finding that you need to do upgrades or move to a different system. I love that the basic version, you can have up to 15 team members for free, which is quite a few. So if you have a larger team, you can add those team members. The other thing that I like about it, I guess it's a plus minus depending on your situation. You don't have to be a university employee to use the system. So sometimes we collaborate with people outside of the university, so we can add them there if we needed to. It's really easy to use. We have used some project management systems that are really cumbersome. This one's easy and it's fun. Right there's your fun. Rainbows and happy smiling things. I think Candy Crush was successful for a reason. There's that instant gratification, and so it does make your work fun. I'm going to go ahead and mark that off, that we've talked about all of the intro. So now I want to talk about just the basics. So if on your computer, if you want to just type in Asana, asana.com, you can start pulling this up and actually practice as we go through this. So the first thing that you need to be aware of is that you're going to create a team, and your team names are your different kind of pages, if you think of them as, different. It's not really a board or a list within individual teams. So clicking on your personal icon, which we'll do here in a minute, will give you all of the lists of your different teams. Now, something you do need to be aware of, the team names are a little bit difficult to change. Asana did an update and I can't figure out how to change our team names. So it's a little harder to delete teams and delete the team names. So really think about that before you create them. What is this lasting team name that you want to keep? So I'm just using one of our old boards for this example. The next thing that you'll want to do is invite your team members. So once you've created that team board, you can invite people. So I'm going to just right over this section here. It tells me who my team members are on this particular board or project. I'm going to invite a couple people from our team. It should pull them up already, but it's not. Probably because I haven't had her in here before. So I'm going to send her an invite. So you just type in their names and invite those people. So I have Lynette in here. I can add in up to 15 members onto this board. So it's pretty simple. When you get those invites, you accept them. It allows you to upload a photo. It's really simple. So if you have any questions about any of these things as we go along, feel free to ask. So once you've invited your team, you've created that project, your large board. So think of it as, I'm going to put smaller projects underneath the board. We can move into creating a new project or and then smaller tasks. So I decided, I'm not sure how many of you like the nature of what your jobs are. I know with Extension, many of you do events, some of you do social media. So I'm going to hit both of those, but you really could use this system. We use it for our editorial, for magazines and collaborating that way. You can use it, just as if you're working on a grant and you have several grant writers, you could have the grant as a project. So just really tailoring it to what your workload is like. So I'm going to actually use an event that we have going on, which is the Utah FFA convention. So I want to create a new project. So I'm going to click on that same button where I did before about inviting people. This time I'm going to add a project. And Asana will give you different layouts that you can use for, where they already have it organized for you a little bit. I'm going to do a blank one just so that you can see how to do it. So I'm going to name it what that project is, Utah FFA Convention. And then you can add a description. So that's going to be your overarching description of what that project is. So Utah FFA members at USU. Of course, I could put in as many details here as I want. Now you can organize your layout in two different ways. You can organize it as a list, which is what we were looking at before, or a board. We'll do this first one. Actually, we can do this one as a board. And then you can make it if it's private. So if you have a project that you don't want anybody else working on, you can do a private project as well. So I'm going to create that project. So it's going to put your lists in to-dos, in progress, done, and you're going to list your tasks. So to do, I'm going to put in, purchase event swag. Now I can add in here who I want to assign that task to. So I'm going to assign that to Mike. And then I'm going to tell him, what I need him to purchase, bags, totes, etc., where he needs to purchase them. I can also copy and paste links in here. And then it always has this comment section, so you can add comments and updates to that as needed. Now, this is a little bit, I feel like it's important to add your due dates to keep you organized, and I'll show you in a few minutes how we look at the calendar to see, make sure you meet your deadlines. So really putting in a due date, even, if it's, let's say this event was 2 months from now, but I need to have it ordered, in 2 weeks so that it's here in time. So there we have the first task, what it is. I feel like this is another important thing. You can assign this whole task of purchasing event swag to someone different than the person actually purchasing it. So if it's my job as the manager to make sure to follow through with the billing, with all of it, I can assign that whole project to me, giving it a due date different than what I just assigned to Mike, with essentially a subtask underneath it. and then you can add multiple. The great thing here is you can drag these across your board as that's in progress. You can drag them as they're done so that you can still see them all the way through. I'm going to go back to our webinar here, and I want to just show you the difference between boards and lists. I think a lot of people don't realize that you can do a board option in Asana. That's something that I hear a lot of the time that people just love about Trello is, well, I can see it in a board format and I can drag it. Well, you can do the same things here. They really, I like both of them. I use both of them, but I'm more familiar with Asana. I feel like it is simpler to use and not as cumbersome. So I'm going to go to creating a new editorial project and show you what that looks like, what a project looks like more in a list format. And maybe it's just how my brain works, that I like the lists better. So again, you do what works for you. I think that's what's most important. So I'm going to create a social media calendar. So I'm going to go over here to my projects, and whether you create them in a list or a board, you're going to add your projects over on the left side. So we're going to add a social media calendar. Again, I'm going to do the blank project. You can use the templates, but for these purposes, I'll show you here. So I'm going to add social media calendar. Again, you would add a description. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now. I'm going to leave it public, and I'm going to leave it in the list format. Now, you might be panicking like, oh, what am I supposed to do? There's just a blank space. It's pretty simple. You add your task. So there's tasks, and then you can also add sections. So just like it pulled on a board, it had, your sections essentially are the task, in progress, or done. Here, I can add multiple sections that I can see in a list that are associated with the project. So with social media, I'm going to add a section that's Facebook. And then I'm going to add a section for Instagram. So you see how you could add that, differently. You could add it, as many sections as you need to add. And then I can still see them all in a list format. Just by hitting return, it will give me my task key, or you can click on the task button up there to put in a new task. So with your task, you just assign it here. I'm going to put post about the FFA event. Now the great thing here is you can, I get a lot of content through email, so I can copy and paste the email directly in here, which I do quite a bit, and I can see where that would be beneficial to have a system that integrates. And from, I'm quite certain but not positive that if you want to upgrade with some of these features, I think that is one of the features that Asana can do, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So you would give your description here. I can also do subtasks over here. So I can put that we want to do a Facebook live event. And I can assign this, just like I did on the board, I can assign this section of the task to a different team member, and yet we can both still see what each other's tasks are. So I'm going to assign the project here to the task to post to myself. I'm going to assign the Facebook live event to Mike. Another cool feature that I love about using Asana is you can just drag and drop. I forgot to pull a quick photo, so we're going to use this photo here, which doesn't have anything to do with FFA, but it works. So as long as the photo is on your computer, it won't pull from, if you have it in Google Photos, you need to actually put it on your computer to be able to pull it into Asana. It's not going to pull directly from an internet source or from your email, so you have to actually have it on your computer, but you just need to drag and drop it. So there's Doc. We're going to put his photo in here, simply by dragging and dropping the photo. You can see it's uploading here. You can put in as many photos or documents. You can do PDFs, Excel file, PowerPoint. We've used pretty much all of them that you can put right into the system. If you don't want to drag and drop, you can still click on the attachment button here, and then search your computer. You can go to Dropbox, Google Drive. So I guess I did lie a little bit. You can pull from Google Drive, but I haven't been able to pull directly from Google Photos with a photo. So if somebody knows how to do that, you can let me know. There may be some of you who have used the system that know more than me. And I'm never out of the habit of learning. So that's where you just drag and drop your photos. When you click on that link, it will pull it up right here. So I don't have to email that photo to my team. It's in the project. They can download it themselves, and it saves me from doing that. You can also copy your task link here if you need to. This thumbs up likes button is just if you want to get a little social within your team. We don't really do that, but you know, maybe your team will like to do that. You can also see whatever documents are, you know, are right below that. So it's pretty slick, I feel like, that way. The other thing that I do like about the task, you know, the list, is I can still drag and drop this just as I would in the board format. I can pull this down into another section, maybe, by just clicking on it and dragging and dropping. So you can take a project, you know, you can take the flow if you organize it correctly from the top to the bottom. So for instance, on our editorial, we actually have a section above this that for press releases or, you know, whatever else we're writing. And again, whatever the nature is of your project and your work, since we're marketing, this is, you know, our type of work. So I can take, maybe that wants to move and maybe it doesn't. You can take that workflow. So if we have a press release about the FFA convention or the story, then we can assign that. How we've used it is when we start that project here, that whoever I assign that to, it's their job to make sure that all subtasks are done underneath it. So that helps me as a manager, that I don't have to micromanage that somebody else's work. It's they can manage their own project and their workload with whoever has been assigned to do that. Then when we meet and collaborate together as a team, we go over our task list, our due dates, how we're doing. Everybody's on the same page. I feel like it really does help to clarify what those expectations are of what needs to be done, what content needs to be in it, who's doing what, and by when. So I'm going to go back to our webinar here and show you, we've talked about some of those. Okay, and this is a great example of, okay, keeps you on task. You know, I added the swag in. I didn't add in the tailgate party. Oh, the tailgate party was a huge part of the FFA convention. So if I go back to my task list, we have the tailgate party. And I can assign that to whoever, and you always want to give that due date to keep you on task. I don't know if I talked about this already, but this little button here is our subtasks. So you have your project, and then you have, you know, a task, and then you have subtasks underneath it there. We looked at it on the list format. Here in the board format, you're going to find them here. So we need to find volunteers for this. We need to order food, etc. I'm not going to take the time right now to put in Oh, maybe I will. We'll assign this to Mike because he doesn't have enough to do. Find volunteers. Give it a due date. This is your little comment button here for your subtasks. That can be important because if you want the comment just to be specific with that. So I can put in a comment. We've already talked to the ambassadors to come, or whatever your note is there. And hit your comment. I mean, it really is pretty intuitive. And again, we can drag that throughout the board. So I wanted to show you, let's go to this section here. It probably has a little more on it. Up here at the top, we have your list, timeline, calendar, conversations, etc. The calendar feature, I feel like, is really important. And that's why I really like those due dates. I can look and see how much I have on a specific day. I can look at my employees and know that, you know what, I've given them 5 things to do today, and those are unrealistic expectations as a manager. So I need to reassign those due dates, as well as being able to, for myself, how many of us have a task list and it's so unrealistic for us to get it done? We think, you know, I can get these 20 things done in one day, but when you see it all, you know, in one place, it's like, okay, I need to make some changes there. So the calendar feature is really important. For social media, those of you who do social media, it's awesome because you can see what days you're missing, what days you may need to find content for. It's great. Before we were using Asana, we were just using a spreadsheet, which was okay, but this has improved our productivity leaps and bounds. Up here at the top, you can also click on, you know, if there's conversations, so you can have messaging directly to your team members rather than having to send an email. I will say it does take a little bit of time for your team to adjust to not going straight to email and instead, you know, communicating through Asana. And it can, if you're used to using email, you need to clarify, are we going to communicate through Asana or are we communicating through email? Again, do what works for you. You can click on your progress and forms. I have not used forms, and I'm pretty sure you have to upgrade to the business section to be able to use forms. So I'm going to go back to lists. I want to show you a couple other features. This button here on my tasks is also great. So you're like, okay, that's great if I've got everybody else's tasks in there, but that's confusing. Where in mine, you just hit my tasks and you can go through and you can organize those however you need them to be. You'll find here that in the lighter text shows what the larger project, so this is my task here, and this is the larger project that it's, or task if this is, so this is a subtask, here's the other task along with it. So these are the larger projects. So you click on it and you can get all of the information here. Your subtasks are on the side. I think that's why I like the list format best when I'm doing a project, because it shows in your task list rather than on a board. But boards can be great for certain types of projects. I know our design team, or one of our teams likes those boards better. Our digital team likes them better. Inbox is just simply what you have coming up. So if you like that format better, you know, it gives you all of those there. And I have not used the portfolios, so I'm not familiar with them, but that feature is there if that's something you want to look into. Again, it'll take you to your home, what recent projects, what tasks are due soon, and when you're looking for your projects, they're always over here. So I'm just going to review a couple things. This button here is where all of your team boards or team member, your teams are located. So you can have multiple projects within that team. So if you think of it as you're creating those, who's going to be on my team and who needs to see it. Again, if you click on your icon, it will pull those up for you. Your projects are located over here on the left. Your tasks here in the middle. So I'm going to go through because we want some instant gratification that we've discussed these items. You don't get a flying unicorn every time because I think it would be a little irritating if you did. I might have a few team members that would beg to differ on that. So we've talked about lists and calendars. We created a new editorial calendar, but I want to check and make sure that all the subtasks were done. I did show you how to do an attachment. We added Facebook and Instagram sections, so that was done. I showed you how to drag and drop those tasks. So our new editorial project is done as well. So I have I haven't seen any questions come through. So if you have any, now's the time to give them to me as I'm wrapping up. But just a few things, a few closing thoughts, if you will. Really getting organized is worth it. I think you might, if you're sitting here and thinking, well, that's great, that's going to take me so much more time to type it up and put it in there. I love this quote from Benjamin Franklin: for every minute spent in organizing, an hour is earned. So I'm not the most productive person in the world, but I feel like I'm fairly productive, and I get people asking me all the time, they'll see my task list, how do you get so much done? I really attribute it, a lot of it, to Asana. And then I work with a prioritizing system and I still do paper and pen, and I'll write those 5 things down that I need to do. Another favorite quote is, organizing is what you do before you do something, so that when you do it, it's not all mixed up. Pretty straightforward and simple, but how many of us just don't do it? We don't take that time, the beginning of our day and the end of our day, to just review what's most important, review what needs to get done. So really getting organizing is worth it. And then my last thought is that really do what works for you and for your team. That's what's most important, is that you're moving forward and being most productive. This may require some change or learning something new. So you may already have a project management system that you've been using for years, but you're hired onto a new team, or you have a team member that says, hey, I found a new system that works great. It may require some change. However, I would give some caution to just, changing constantly. That's probably not a great thing either. Once you find what works for you, go ahead and just move forward. So those are my thoughts on Asana. I hope that it's been beneficial and helpful. If you have any questions, you can shoot them my way. I don't profess to be the Asana guru or anything, but I do profess to be an advocate for getting organized and staying organized. I think it's vital in this day and age where everything's thrown at us so fast. So good luck with organizing. Good luck with Asana. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and we will talk to y'all later.